book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about my favorite ongoing series at the moment. This is a 7 on Sunday topic, and I'm the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too sure whether or not I should have included this as a 7 on Sunday topic. However, I do know that there are some readers out there who, unlike myself, will commit to waiting for the sequel and start the book early. Whereas for me, when it comes to book series, I usually try to prioritize what has already been completed. And if I see that a series is ongoing, sometimes I will chicken out and not touch it, but I need to stop being afraid of that because I just remember the thrill I was having with the Throne of Glass series back in the day, and that was an ongoing series when I was first reading it. So the fact that there are so many series out there that are not yet completed that I do want to read, it overwhelms me, but eventually I do want to get into some ongoing series that are on my TBR. You know what? Maybe that's another good content idea. Maybe I might talk about the ongoing series that I have on my TBR, but that is a video for another time. Thankfully, I was able to find some ongoing series that I have committed to, where I have started the first or maybe the second books or future parts in the series. It's so much easier with manga for me because with manga, it's kind of a given that something might just be ongoing, and it's less intimidating when it's ongoing because by the time the series ends, it's not like you have to spend a bunch of money. It's like a slow investment. However, additionally, I also have some book series on this TBR that I will be going through. Maybe I might alternate between manga and book series just to keep it fresh. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to talk about my favorite currently ongoing series. As I'm filming this video, they're currently ongoing. The first book series that I have to mention is the Stolen Heir duology by Holly Black. The Stolen Heir is the first book in the duology. I am personally hoping, fingers crossed, this will become a trilogy because I just want more of this world. I want more of these characters specifically. I love Ren and I love Prince Oak. Oh my goodness, like their dynamic is beautiful. Like I did somewhat appreciate Jude and Cardan's dynamic to some capacity as the Folk of Air series was going along. However, I appreciate them in the end. With Ren and Prince Oak, I fell in love with them instantly. I actually thought that this was going to be a slower burn, and you know what? It is technically a slow burn because the series is still in a place of will they, won't they. However, their dynamic just seems a little bit more promising and seems a little bit more healthy. I don't know. I just have a thing for Prince Oak, okay? I love reading about Ren in the story, and I just want more of this world, so I'm very much looking forward to the sequel. But I really hope that the sequel and or conclusion, I'm saying and or because fingers crossed we will get an extension, kind of expand upon the world, because as much as The Queen of Nothing was a good finale, it wasn't a great finale. It's probably my least favorite book in the series. However, I mean, I do like Prince Cardan in that book specifically. The Stolen Heir definitely has to be on this list. This series feels somewhat nostalgic for me, so I have to read these books on release going forward, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna commit to. I don't care at this point about a book hangover. I just really need to know what happens in this book series because I feel like the internet is just ready to spoil everything at this point. The next out of my favorite ongoing series currently is Spy Family. At this point, I still love Spy Family. I do acknowledge that even up to volume 9, it still does feel somewhat episodic. However, what I appreciate about the series is how it stands out from anything that I've ever read before. I personally don't believe I've read anything similar to this, and whenever I try to find a comp for this series, I really can't. I usually use Spy Family as a comp to recommend other manga to readers, but it's really hard to find a comp for Spy Family, and I think that's what keeps me reading it. It's just so different from anything that I currently read, and also, I mean, Anya definitely keeps me coming back. I think at the moment it's the thrill of having Lloyd and Yor, and pretty much the will they, won't they gets in the way. It consumes my mind, so every single time I go into a new Spy Family volume, I try to be optimistic about them eventually working out, but we will see. So to those who might be confused as to what I'm talking about, pretty much Lloyd and Yor are in a fake marriage, in a fake family. So they've also adopted Anya. I love the fake family dynamic in the series and how over time Lloyd is opening his heart up to them being his real family. And so I'm hoping to see more of that, but at this point we're at volume 9 and it's still feeling somewhat episodic, so it might take a while to get there, but I hope that the plot progresses in that way because I reckon that these characters deserve happiness in my personal opinion. But I will still keep coming back to Spy Family no matter how episodic dynamic it gets. It's just a fun time every time, and Anya is a delight to read about. And the next ongoing book series that I am loving at the moment is the Entangled Buffet companion series by Tessandra Odette. So if you did not know or don't know anything about Tessandra Odette's books at all, pretty much the Entangled Buffet series takes place in another series that Tessandra Odette has written previously. I believe that the first book takes place 20 or 21 years after the Fair Isle trilogy ends. And while that seems pretty far away, I mean, they're fae, they're immortal, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference, but there are definitely nods to the Fair Isle trilogy, so if you've read that trilogy, you will definitely appreciate it. I would personally say that you don't actually need to read the Fair Isle trilogy before going into the series. However, if you do want extensive background knowledge on how the world works and you want a good story, then I would recommend the Fair Isle trilogy, but I'm currently really loving the Entangled Buffet series because every single time I dive into it, I'm just reminded as to how much I adore the Fair Isle trilogy, and I love these books, and I love fairy tale reimaginings, and Tessandra Odette just writes them very well. I've read 3 out of the 4 books that are currently out in this series, but there will be a 5th one that's coming soon, and oh my goodness, the cover reveal happened, the naked hardback reveal happened, so much has happened, and I am so excited for A Dream So Wicked. That one is going to be a Sleeping Beauty reimagining, but with a twist that I've never seen before. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm really pumped for the direction of the series. I mean, every book has like a separate romance, so these are essentially standalones. They can be read at random. However, I would recommend everyone read them in publication order because there are references to other books in the series. This is definitely a series that I am following very closely, and I have not actually read A Taste of Poison yet, and the reason why I haven't is because I want to read it sometime closer to the next book coming out, A Dream So Wicked. I just have a feeling that A Dream So Wicked is going to be really good. I love the premise of that one, so yeah, sign me up. I am so there. And my next favorite ongoing manga series that I have to talk about is Yakuza Lover. What an adrenaline-inducing time. This pretty much brings the best of both worlds for me. So you have some intense action and adrenaline, but also you have a romance thrown in there. I very much appreciate a story like this because every single time I pick a manga volume up, I am transported into a John Wick style world, but you know, there is a cute relationship between these two characters. I'm not gonna lie, at first I thought that this was going to be a really unhealthy dynamic. This is an age gap romance where essentially a boss has fallen for a college girl, but as this series goes along, I feel like the mangaka is doing everything she can to prove that this relationship dynamic can be healthy and there can be healthy exploration. I actually thought that this was going to initially be like a guilty pleasure series, you know, something that would just be a palate cleanser that I would just read in between the books that I do, but I am really invested in Yakuza Lover, especially after reading volume 7. When I read volume 7, I realized, oh, I love the direction of the story, because I actually thought that by the end of volume 6, the protagonist was going to be really possessive, but he wasn't. Instead, he came to the conclusion that he has weaknesses and that Yuri can also take the lead. I love that. So this is definitely a favorite ongoing series for me. I was enjoying it. This before was like a super guilty pleasure series for me, but as I'm reading about these characters' relationship development, I'm appreciating it a lot more. But also, I love the combination of action and romance in one series, and as much as I do like the shoujo manga I read so far, this is like the most action-packed and I very much appreciate it. So yeah, Yakuza Lover is definitely a series that I'm going to follow up until the end. And my next favorite ongoing book series has got to be the Deal with a Demon series by Katie Robert. I've actually only read the first book, but pretty much even just after reading the first book, the reader knows exactly what to expect from the series, and I am so excited. This is similar to how the Entangled Buffet series works, except this series actually just establishes its own world. Each book is a standalone romance novel. I personally don't know whether or not each book will make a reference to one another, but what I do know is that so far, this series has been good based on The Dragon's Bride. And I currently have 2 other books in this series on my shelves, and I also cannot wait for, I think it was The Gargoyle's Captive that just came out. I seriously cannot wait for the rest of the books in the series. And I mean, Katie Robert, before they were that author that I would go to if I was just looking for something that was smutty in the midst of my dense fantasy reads or my dense contemporary reads, I don't know, just dense reads in general. Like, Katie Robert's books were just easy to get through, even though sometimes they are hard-hitting and they're emotional. However, The Dragon's Bride, I had a different experience. I found this book to be a lot more wholesome than anything that I've read from her before. So I'm kind of expecting that the rest of the series is going to be wholesome. I know it's going to have some steam. However, I'm definitely saving these books for a rainy day because I know that they will deliver. They will give me what I need. And my next favorite ongoing manga series that I have to mention is Alice in Borderland. Now, I am aware this series has been completed in Japan. It has been completed for quite some time. It's only just being translated and printed for the English reading market, but I don't think that we are even going to see the last volume come out this year. I think that the last volume of Alice in Borderland, by the rate that they are coming out, will be out in 2024, which devastates me because I love myself a good binge read, and I know that this series has binge read potential. However, I'm just going to have to deal with them just coming out one by one, or at least two by two, because these are actually bind-ups. So bind-up 9, I believe, will come out in 2024. If it comes out in 2025, I will forever be sad. But right now, there are currently 5 bind-ups as I'm filming this video, so we are just past the halfway point. And as I'm filming this video, I've only read 3 of the bind-ups. The reason why is because I think it's circumstance. So I believe the last time I read a bind-up of Alice in Borderland, I was actually participating in Australian Reading Hour, and that took place in the middle of my workday. So as much as I wanted to jump into the next bind-up I was so close to, I could not fit 2 bind-ups into the reading hour. So I stuck with 1, but that is probably why I haven't picked up bind-up 4, because usually if a series is compelling enough, I will binge read it to keep the momentum up, and that is exactly what I wanted to do with bind-ups 3 and 4, and that just did not happen. So I have to continue on with the series. However, that doesn't seem like a chore. Like, these seem intimidating when you first look at them because they're bind-ups, but from personal experience, once you are invested in the series, once you are sitting down reading it, it's really hard to stop reading. So that is why I consider it to be one of my favorite series that is currently ongoing. And yes, I will continuously read the series as it comes out because I think that the series totally deserves that. And my next favorite ongoing book series that I have to mention is the Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I'm specifically mentioning Flesh and Fire here because after the War of Two Queens in the Blood and Ash series, it is really hard to say that the Blood and Ash series is one of my favorite ongoing series. I love the first 3 books. Like, the first 3 books I was really invested in, and I also very much appreciated Poppy's journey in the Blood and Ash series. But yeah, the War of Two Queens has taken my motivation away, and you know what? I'm actually personally happy that Jennifer L. Armentrout is taking a break from that series, or at least she's gonna do some sort of she's gonna do the first book from Hawke's perspective, which I totally endorse. The reason why I really want it was because I think my main gripe with Blood and Ash initially was the fact that we didn't get his perspective, and we were in Poppy's head the entire time, and I just wanted to know Hawke's motivations because I struggled with him sometimes. But I love Hawke now. I think the more I read about Hawke, I appreciate him more. I totally feel for him after book 4, my goodness. But I'm actually really happy that that series is not ongoing this year, and it will continue later, but I just need some time to recover from my burnout. It was literally a year since I read The War of Two Queens, so yeah, I'm still experiencing those feelings. That aside, the Flesh and Fire series is so good, and I am kind of devastated that there's only gonna be 1 more book in the series, but I'm seriously still pumped for it. I love Sarah, I love Nyktos, and I also like that this was a good paced trilogy. I mean, I know that A Shadow in the Ember, in particular, the first book is pretty slow, but the way that the relationship was written, the slow burn, just the communication between the two, I mean, at times they don't communicate, but I honestly personally feel the relationship dynamic in this series is much healthier than the Blood and Ash series. Unfortunately, look, I'm just looking at it based on the fact that I've read The War of Two Queens, but I also keep coming back to this series because I am obsessed with Nyktos, and I not only love Sarah and can relate to her even as like an adult woman, I feel like I relate to Sarah more and more as I grow up. I think Sarah is just one of those characters who I resonate with more, whereas Poppy, I still resonate with her, but I kind of related to her at a time of my life, and that was definitely before I reached my later 20s. Whereas Sarah, I feel like I relate to a lot more. Anyway, this is just one of my favorite ongoing series in general. I don't really have any coherent thoughts about this, but I just love the series and I cannot wait for the finale. But also I'm nervous about it because what if it ends poorly? At this point, I don't know what to expect from a new JLA novel because The War of Two Queens burned me. However, A Light in the Flame restored my faith in JLA as a writer. And also, yes, if you were wondering, I got this dust jacket off of A Touch of Magic Designs. When they were doing a special World of Blood and Ash box, they gave me this dust jacket and it was illustrated by Dominique Wesson. It's so cute. I really hope that they do the rest of the series in these because I am in love. The second last ongoing series that I have to mention, but the last manga series I have to mention, is the ultimate ongoing manga series. That, my friends, is Berserk. I feel like I have to directly send my tears over to the creative team behind Berserk now, because every chapter that I've read recently, the latest chapters of Berserk have been making me bawl my eyes out. This series has hit the feels. I personally really struggled to watch Daniel Green's read through of Berserk. So Daniel Green does a video series where he is live reacting while reading Berserk, and I couldn't watch the latest one because I just started to tear up within like the first few minutes. I was like, no, I can't do this. This is taking an emotional toll on me. And yes, I know the literal point of Berserk is having to go through trial and hardship, and knowing in the midst of that you can find hope. But oh my goodness. I have been emotional over the series a couple of times in the years that I've read it, but I don't know if it compares to how emotional I feel right now as we're caught up, as the latest chapter came out, as I'm filming this video right now. I've been so torn about the series. Like, yes, okay, I've had massive book hangovers when it comes to the series, but I don't know if the best thing for my mental health is to just put the series down and leave it for another day when I'm ready to cry. But honestly, I don't really want to do that. I want to feel the pain as Guts and as the other characters are feeling the pain, because that is exactly what Guts deserves. He deserves the world. Oh my goodness, Guts. Oh, okay, I'm getting emotional as I'm thinking about this right now. It's really hard to watch breakdowns and to talk about Berserk without breaking down myself, but that is exactly what makes this series one of the best. It brings so much emotion out of us because while it is heart-wrenching, it is also very relatable. And I was going through one of the toughest times while reading Berserk, and I really feel like Berserk was just one of those series that had me through that tough time, and it made me realize that I could find hope within that tough time. I also have Camilo to thank for all the years of pain he's caused me from Berserk. Not anything else specific in our relationship, just Berserk. And on a much, much lighter note, the final favorite ongoing series I have to mention today that I love and I adore and I totally recommend everyone jump on this bandwagon immediately. I'm happy I did. The Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Leese. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, so I had seen this book series like appear on my Goodreads feed every once in a while, and honestly, I didn't find myself caring about it at all. I just saw these covers. I'm like, yeah, you know, they look like cute romance contemporary books, but like I have many on my shelves. What makes these stand out from the rest? However, an Australian publisher picked these books up and they were selling at Big W for $12 each. And this is a pretty long romance companion series. I believe that there are going to be 7 books in the series based on the 7 siblings that we are following. I kind of want an 8th book where we have some sort of novella collection because that would be really cool. I just want to see how they're all doing personally. I just want a collection of short stories following the Bergman family. But anyway, that's a side note. So I purchased the first 5 from Big W when I was on my vacation with Camilo. I went to Melbourne and I kind of wanted to treat myself. And like, I know I could have purchased it at my local, but I just wanted to make the vacation a little bit more special. So I decided to purchase them from there. And I just randomly decided to put this on my May TBR. I just thought to myself, maybe I might just get to Only When It's Us to see how it goes. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, the first 100 pages I was like, not feeling it. But then I continued to read and to read and to read. And the way that the conflict was dealt with in this book, I was kind of blown away by it. Like, I wasn't initially interested. I thought to myself, oh, you know, I pretty much forked out a bunch of money on a long book series and I'm not engaged in this first book. But once I got into it, I'm so pleased to say I fell in love with it. And then I read books 2, 3, and 4, and dare I say it, books 2, 3, and 4 are 5-star reads from me. I was so blown away at how good this series got. I believe that the 7th book will come out maybe sometime at the end of this year or next year. Essentially, Goodreads says that the expected publication is 2023, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I'm going to expect it to come out in 2024, but if it does come out in 2023, I will be so delighted. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. I have to wait for the 7th book. And I know that that is most likely going to be the finale, but I reckon that this is one of those series that I'm just gonna go back and reread all the books. This is definitely one of my favorite ongoing series ever. And you know what? I thank everyone who was simply reading it on Goodreads or marking it as to be read on Goodreads or gave a 5-star review to the series, because I saw your buzz. And honestly, if I would have just seen these books at my local Big W, not knowing anything about the series or not knowing about the reviews that the series got, then I don't think I would have picked it up. So thank you to everyone in the community who has recommended or raved about the series, because this is definitely one of the best romance companion series I've ever read. It's so good. And yes, it is worth the wait if you want to binge all the books now in the lead up to the 7th book. So I guess it's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me me the green heart emoji. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already joined the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. My Gedsavanh Books on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/Gedsavanh. And finally, I'm at TikTok. My Gedsavanh on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.